What's up, guys? LQ here with the LQ review. Thank you for being here at my YouTube channel. This is where I talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that I love to talk about. And here we are talking about Tiger King on Netflix. All right, so I did not think this was a show I was going to watch. When it first came out, a bunch of people were talking about it online, and I don't know, like it typically when a Netflix show comes out, it's got to get a lot of hype before I'm going to watch it because usually Netflix shows aren't very good. Same with their movies. There's a lot of gold in there. There's a lot of gold. Stranger Things is one of my favorite shows, period. So there's a lot of gold in there. But usually I'm not going to jump onto it unless it just looks really, really good. And this looked silly to me. This looks silly. So I was honestly going to give it a pass. I was. And then I got a text from my best friend. And he said, "You have to watch Tiger King. These people are all train wrecks." And then he went into a little more specifics about what it was. So that night I turned it on and I was like, all right, I'm going to give it the good old 15-minute test. In 15 minutes, if I'm not engaged, I'm turning it off. And that was seriously and that's usually my test with any show. You know, it's got to grab my attention in the first 15 minutes or I just don't have time for it. Well, I had to make time for Tiger King because I was engrossed almost immediately. I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning that night watching it. And the next morning, right when I woke up, I turned it right back on until I was done. I was engrossed in this train wreck of a man's life. And what I finally talked to my friends about was that every single person in this show is a horrible person. Every single person in this show is a train wreck. Every single person in this show does not have it together. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. I think the nicest one was probably the girl who got her arm chewed off. Everybody else, besides the chick that got her arm chewed off, everybody else was a complete, total, utter train wreck. A disaster of a person. And it was like, and I used train wreck specifically. Number one, my friend used it. But number two, I'm choosing to use it because I would describe it as a train wreck. I can't take my eyes off of it. It's awful. The quality isn't awful, but these people's, their lives are awful. And I can't take my eyes off of it. It's like a train wreck. You're driving by it and you don't want to look, but you have to. You know, Americans, we have the crooked neck disease where we're driving by a car accident. You know, driving by a semi that slid off the road. An ambulance. That's me on this show. All right. Anytime a distraction came up, I'm still looking over my shoulder at that TV because I did not want to take my eyes off of that TV and off of the train wreck of people that was in front of me. And you just start thinking about the life that this man led. Joe Exotic. How did I not know that he was a presidential candidate? Honestly, I never knew this guy existed before the show. I didn't. Never knew he existed. How did I not know? I'm a civics teacher. I'm into politics. How did I not know that this guy was running for president? Oh. But as I start looking into his life, it starts to be clear that he's an abuser, right? He's an abuser. That's what he does, is he abuses people and animals. Clearly, these animals were exploited. They were exploited so he could get the things that he wanted. It was about him. It was never about the animals. It was about him. And you knew it was about him because of his his ambitions and his aspirations. He had the Joe Exotic TV. He had his political campaigns. He had the name, the persona, everything about what was happening at that zoo was about him. None of it was about the animals. The animals were exploited. He used the animals to build relationships with people, to get people to work for next to nothing and get them to do the manual labor at the park for next to nothing. So he used those animals as an extension of his own power to control people who actually did feel empathy for these things, for these creatures. So he abused the animals in that way. He also abused his workers in that way. His husbands, he was abusive to them. Straight up abusive. His husband Travis that killed himself, accidentally killed. What kind of nightmare was that? It won't shoot if there's no magazine in it. What? He abuses these men who aren't gay. They both admittedly said, we're not gay. And they both told him that going into the relationship, we're not gay. But they had drug addictions. They had drug addictions. And meth is especially one of those drugs that once it takes hold, you're going to go to the easiest place to get it. And if the easiest place to get it is to mess around with Joe Exotic, that's what they were going to do, because drugs, especially meth, is one of those things that completely messes up your priority list. The priority is the drug. The priority is getting the drug. Everything else falls under that priority list, including your heterosexual nature. Now, I'm not saying that, there aren't homosexuals out there. Clearly, Joe Exotic is a homosexual. But for straight people, you look at these two people as examples. Straight people will give up that heterosexual nature of themselves to get that drug. And Joe Exotic was pumping them so full of drugs and making it so easily accessible that they didn't need to look outside of that relationship, because that relationship was providing them everything they needed. So his husbands were abused. They were flat out abused by him. So he was an abuser. That's what he did with his life, was he abused these people around him. And he did it for his own, what's the word I'm looking for? His own gratification. He did it for his own fame. You look at, what's the girl's name from The Sanctuary? It's Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin is her name. She's an awful person too. She is an awful person. Like, she's not trying to save these. She's exploiting these animals also. She's exploiting these animals for her own personal gain. I would be interested in knowing what her salary is. I'd love to know what her salary is. These animals are exploited by her as well. She's not innocent in this. And she's not innocent in the relationship with Joe Exotic as well. She's just not. She's had plenty of opportunities to take the high road, which she has ignored every single time. So yes, Carol is not innocent as well. Let's ignore the fact that she might have fed her husband to tigers. I don't know if I believe that, but boy, is it a great story. So she's an awful person also. I'm sorry. I know there's probably people watching this who support the Big Cat Sanctuary. She's an awful person. An awful person. And she's also a train wreck. There's a picture of her right here. I look at her eyes and I see crazy. I see crazy there. She's crazy. I look in her eyes, every picture there, picture there, picture there. I see crazy. She's not a normal person. And she's a train wreck also. Jeff Lowe. What? This dude is like, it just shows you how out of touch with reality Joe Exotic was, because he was willing to sign his zoo over to this dude Jeff Lowe, who is a complete con artist, crazy individual, also a train wreck of a person. I mean, I don't know. Like, you look at these people, none of, and I don't know if, I had somebody ask me the other day on Facebook, they said, why do you think that these big cat people get involved in crime and get involved in unethical behavior. And my response was, I think that the unethical behavior and the crime came first, and that getting involved in these big cat things, the big cat hobbies, business, is an extension of that. Because it's getting involved in big cats like this is immoral and it's unethical. Unless you actually are running a sanctuary, unless you are actually running a zoo, a real legitimate zoo, it's unethical and it's immoral. And that is an extension of the behavior that they were already exhibiting. One of them was a drug lord, for God's sake. And then he got into the big tiger thing. You look at unethical behavior like multiple wives or multiple husbands or swinging or cheating on your spouse, whatever it might be. These people aren't good people. They're just not good people. They're using these animals, these baby pet tigers, as a way to groom their next victims. They're not good people. So yeah, they're all train wrecks, and they're easy to watch because it's entertaining and it makes you feel better about your life. But it's hard to watch because it's like, how did this actually happen? How did people actually interact like this? Because it's nuts to me. I live about 30 minutes from the incident that happened in Zanesville, when the dude let out all the tigers and bears and lions and then shot himself in the head. I remember, this was in 2011. I remember I was only 30 minutes away. I remember being warned by our sheriff's department on Facebook. They put out an announcement on Facebook saying, watch out. You know, if you see a big cat, a lion, a tiger, if you see a bear, report it, call it in, let us know where it is. We were very aware of it. And I remember taking I remember taking my daughter out to McDonald's that night when all that was going on. And the McDonald's that I took her to kind of butted up against some woods. And I remember we were just sitting there and I just kept on glancing out the window at the woods thinking, holy crap, there could be a lion in there. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. You know, we learned that all but one of the animals got killed within very close proximity of the zoo. But I just remember thinking to myself, there could be a freaking lion or a tiger in there right now. So yeah, it's a very real thing. You know, it's a very real thing that a lot of people don't really have a lot of exposure or knowledge of. That there's these crazy people that have tigers, armies of tigers at their house, and they're nuts. They are nutty people, and they're not good people. And honestly, that's my biggest takeaway from this, is that none of these people are good people. The picture that this show painted was that the people who hold these private zoos on their property are crazy, and they're selfish, and they're not good people. Even Carol Baskins, even her, she's nuts. So I don't know what else there is to say about this. I wish I would have known that he was running for president in 2016. I have gotten on YouTube and watched some of his political videos, and I don't think he knows what a libertarian is, because he was running as a libertarian, and he was a mixed bag politically. Some of the stuff he was saying, I was like, all right, that sounds very liberal. He would say other stuff, and I'd be like, all right, that sounds very conservative. I don't know what he was other than nuts. I don't know what he was other than nuts. I don't think he knows what he was. I don't think he knows much about politics. I think he was being fed sound bites so he could talk about the stuff he actually cared about, and that was the animal rights legislation. But by golly, it was entertaining as crap to watch him try to be political and drop an F-bomb every 2 seconds. I'm a little surprised he didn't get more of the votes than he did, because this is America and most of American voters are extremely uneducated, and I'm really surprised that he did not get more votes than he did. Joe Exotic, what a crazy lunatic. So this is supposed to be a review, and I don't know how to review this other than it's exceptionally entertaining. Exceptionally entertaining. It's about 6 hours long, give or take, right? It's like 7 episodes that are about 40 minutes each, 45 minutes each. So give or take 6 hours, probably a little bit less than 6 hours, but It's exceptionally entertaining. I highly recommend watching this. And at this point, I'm like, why is there not a movie of this? There has to be a live action movie of this. This is a dude who gets arrested and he's in jail right now for 22 years because he hired a hitman to kill Carol Baskins, his rival. But the way that he did it just showed no awareness of anything in reality. It was like, hello, I'm trying to get somebody to kill me. I'm trying to get somebody to kill my rival. Please arrest me. There's no awareness. How have they not made a movie of this? Please, Hollywood, I beg you, make a movie of this. I will be there opening night. Opening night. What do you guys think of Tiger King? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And as always, thank you so much for being here at the LQ Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy, and train wrecky stuff that we love to talk about. Until next time, we'll see you later.